A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being an amazing audience. We have with us someone who is a veteran policy maker. He's joining us from New Delhi. He couldn't be here with us today, but he is the man who's in charge of the whole statistical overhaul that India is going through. He was previously the CEO of UIDAI, and currently he's the secretary of Statistics and Program Implementation with the Government of India. He's driving several reforms in the way data is getting collected in the country, the way it's getting disseminated, and the way it's being protected. First thing on his agenda is enhancement of data collection. He's overseeing several new surveys, including those to measure private sector capital expenditure and the monthly publication of employment statistics. And also, under his leadership, the ministry is exploring the use of technologies like AI and machine learning for data collection and analysis. Please put your hands together for Dr. Saurabh Garg.
Thank you.
Dr. Garg, you're missing an in-person applause. I'm sure the energy would have really energized you in the room if you were here with us, but thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. I would have loved to be there, but my loss that I'm not able to meet all the wonderful audience who's present out there.
Well, sir, but thank you so much. We know that you had a busy schedule, so we really appreciate you taking out the time. You know, if we could begin by talking about the role of data today in policy intelligence, and if you could share some examples with us on how data has been used recently to design policy interventions. We were discussing a little while ago about how data on women empowerment and, declining participation of women in the workforce actually nudged certain policy interventions. If we could begin with some anecdotes to understand, how data is being used to drive policy in India.
Yeah, sure. So I think data-driven decision-making is something which is being emphasized increasingly. In fact, the Honorable Prime Minister during Civil Services Day this year in April 25 mentioned that every civil servant should be focusing on data-driven decision-making. And just to give a few examples, for example, last year in the budget, the Honorable Finance Minister had announced focused interventions for creches, for children and working women hostels. And that was a direct fallout of the labor market data. The female labor participation rate, by the way, has been increasing, but we are still below global levels. And that was one of the reasons that this intervention was introduced last year. Similarly, you had earlier when we were talking about the national education policy, looking at the out-of-school children and the focus on how to bring back out-of-school children either through formal means or through open schooling, and that's why the focus on that. More recently, skill development has been a major focus area, because the annual survey of unincorporated sector enterprises showed that the skill levels of workers have been limited in terms of formal skill training. So that's informed a lot of the skill training work that is being done. So the focus is data-driven decision-making, and these are just a few examples.
Right, Dr. Garg, we've often spoken about how data is the new oil. In current times, one would say data is the new gold. We want to get a sense from you on how is MoSPI using Web 3.0 to collect data. Because in the past, questions have been raised around the quality of data that's coming out of India, and we know that personally you've been really driving that the quality of data, the granular capturing of data at the district level, at the grassroots level happens efficiently and effectively. If you could just take us through some of the initiatives that you've taken to ensure that Web 3.0 is implemented in data collection.
Yeah. So one thing I would like to say in terms of robustness and accuracy, that is something that we focus on, and the quality of the data is something that's extremely important. And that's one thing that I think the statistical system, the data that is being produced, is of a very high quality. But at the same time, we need to move with the times, and therefore, how to incorporate the latest technology in the system, that's a great focus. So, for example, let's start with data collection. We don't do any pen and paper data collection. It's done through tablets, and it's the computer-aided personal interviewing, and it's directly uploaded onto the cloud. So, and in the cloud, we have validation mechanisms so that if there are any areas where observations are grossly seem to be out of sync with what's normally being, flags are raised and it goes back to the enumerator within 24 to 48 hours so that the validation can be done. We also introduced a toggle button for language change so that on the ground level, if the enumerator needs to inform the citizen more effectively, at the moment we have English and Hindi and we are expanding to other languages, so it will become so much easier. We've also got on our tablets for the enumerators an AI-based chatbot, which will help to classify the data that is given more effectively, and that reduces the time taken. So this I'm just giving one set of examples in data collection. And similarly, whether it's data processing or data dissemination, we are using technology at each stage.
So you are using technologies like blockchain to ensure that data is collected and it's safe.
I won't say that we are using blockchain as of now, but our data is on the cloud. And if the cloud provider is using such technologies, that I would not be able to confirm. But let's say, for example, we are definitely using alternate data sources. For example, geospatial data. That's something that helps improve the accuracy and helps the enumerator going to the houses, so that we have built in the geospatial data so that it identifies the houses more effectively. We are using e-commerce data, online data sources, so that these kind of data sources become available, whether it's for price or for calculating the GDP. We are using e-Vahan data, for example, which will give idea of the growth of the road transport. We are working with the GST mechanism so that growth rates are captured more effectively and much more in a granular manner. So different types of technologies we are using, and what we are trying to use is that the latest form of data that is available, we use that so that the GDP calculations, the index for industrial production, the price index that we calculate, use the most timely data and the most recently available data.
Fascinating, Dr. Garg. We are very curious to actually understand what are the changes that we can expect going forward. You mentioned some of them, that you're using e-Vahan data, you're using data from e-commerce companies and so on. In terms of the way GDP is calculated, do we see the base getting expanded further? And in terms of the challenges, when it comes to data collection, especially where technology access is concerned for a developing country like India, how are you looking at addressing those challenges?
Yeah. So let me just first talk about what are the changes that we are introducing to make, for example, the GDP data, the growth data, the size of the GDP, and price index and the growth of industries more effective. So one is that we are updating the base. The base up till now was 2011-12. We are updating that to 22-23 because that's the data that's available in terms of the household consumption expenditure. So it covers the latest trends of consumption and the items of consumption which people are now using, and so it will capture that. The coverage of the economy has become much more granular, because number one, there's been a change in the structure of the economy over the past decade, especially with the introduction of the digital economy, which has really expanded since the Digital India Mission was started in 2014-15. So we are reworking the weights of the different sectors of the economy based on the consumption expenditure survey that we have and the present structure of the economy. Apart from that, new data sources we are incorporating. Some of them I mentioned earlier. And for each sector, we are looking at what new data sources have come up, and many of them are digital in nature. So we are really getting, in a way, real-time data available. For example, payments data at an aggregate level will help to see where the kind of growth is happening. And the third kind of changes are on the methodological side, because over the past 10 years, there have been changes in the methodology, in the compilation mechanisms. So that will be done. So on all this will input into the GDP calculations, the price index calculation, and the other data that we bring out.
Right.
Yes,
please go on.
Apart from that, there's another set of work that we are doing so that data that is available in the public domain for government, for private sector, there are 3 or 4 areas that we are focusing on. One is timeliness, because if data is not available early, then the value of that data reduces. So our focus now is that whatever we bring out on a monthly basis, for example, the labor market data is brought out monthly. Our attempt is to bring out within 15 days, but definitely not more than 30 days. So we bring out the price data within 12 days of the end of the month, and the labor market, employment, unemployment data within 15 days of the end of the month. So that's the focus that we have. Similarly, for the quarterly data, within 45 days, we should bring out, and annual data within 90 days. So that ensures that there's some certainty when we'll bring out the data. The second is the frequency that we bring out the data also increases. Labor market data, until last year, we were bringing it out on an annual basis and quarterly for the urban area. Now we bring out rural and urban on a monthly basis.
Yes.
Similarly, the unincorporated sector, the informal sector, we were bringing out again on an annual basis only. Now we bring out that data on a 3-monthly basis, so you get a sense of the health of the informal sector, what are the revenues, what are the growth, which sectors are doing well, and this data is available in the public domain on a 3-monthly basis. So we are working on increasing, and the third part, we are increasing the granularity of the data that is available. So our focus up till now was to bring out national level and state level data. We are working with the state governments to see what all data can be brought out at the district level. In fact, already many of these indicators like price, if not price, at least GDP or the district domestic product is being brought out. We are working with them, can we bring out price data either at the district or a regional level or in industrial production data. So that's the third. And the fourth, if I can quickly come to, is the increasing the coverage of the data. So up till now, we didn't have a focused work on the services sector. So we are going to start a new survey. We did a pilot last year, and which will lead into a services production index also. So that will give us better idea of the services sector, which now comprise more than 50 or 55% of the economy. We've started bringing out a forward-looking capital expenditure survey data so that the private sector gets an idea of which are the sectors that capital is being spent. So these are the 4 sets of workers: timeliness, frequency, periodicity, and coverage that we are improving.
Fascinating insights there, Dr. Garg. I want to talk to you about the labor data that you mentioned. We do see that there is a lot of discrepancy between the data that comes out from the government and the data that is put out by private firms where employment data and jobs data is concerned. Why is there a difference, Dr. Garg? And according to you, what would be, when we are as journalists and as analysts looking at data, which data should we go for? Because it gets very confusing for us.
Yeah. So let me first of all say that whatever data that we bring out, we strictly follow the international guidelines and the definitions. And secondly, whatever is the micro data, that's the individual household level, the estimates, the relative standard error, the survey methodology, each of these issues we put out in the public domain for everyone to validate and cross-check whether what we are saying is actually the fact. And the second thing which I would want to say is that since, as I mentioned, since January we are bringing out monthly data, we have increased the number of households that we survey to about nearly 3 lakh households, which is a significant increase from what it was earlier. So given the fact that we follow international definitions, we are totally transparent in what we are doing, and the sample sizes that we do, I don't think anyone is close to those sample sizes. So what we have to look at it is whether it is representative of the national of the entire country, or whether are they in isolated pockets only, is that survey being done. And to the extent that my knowledge goes, I don't think anyone has challenged the credibility or the robustness or the accuracy of our data.
All right. Well, we're nearing the end of our conversation, but very quickly, I want to get a sense from you on use of AI in data collection. And do you feel that with increasing use of technology, the data discrepancies that we see come up, that would reduce significantly?
See, the data discrepancies that come up are due to a variety of reasons. And I suppose you're talking about the data discrepancies between the data that we bring out and some of the other agencies that bring out. I mentioned about the reasons from the labor market data. And right. One thing which is always there in the data that our sample sizes in most cases don't go below 1 lakh. We start from 1 lakh and go upwards to 5 lakhs. I don't know how many other agencies have those kind of samples. Second, we are very, very careful of the definitions and what we are stating, and we stand by every statement that we make in terms of what we are producing, and we have a very high focus on quality of the data. We look at what is the validation, what are the responses that have come up, and we have both machine level checks which use machine learning or AI and human oversight, a combination of these that we look at. So at the same time, we regularly do data user conferences with researchers, forecasters, the media, presenting our results in a very transparent manner. And we are always open to question, and we are very happy for anyone else to raise issues that they might have discovered in our data. We'll be very happy to correct ourselves and improve. And we also do discussions with many of the data collectors who are in the private sector. And we are hopeful as they work with us and they also standardize their systems, their data processes will also improve.
All right. Very quickly, my last question, Dr. Garg. Monetary policy is heavily dependent on CPI, and we know that the new CPI series will be launched in February. How crucial do you feel would be the new series with respect to the MPC?
See, we bring out the price inflation data, and our attempt is to ensure that it reflects as closely as possible the price rises or the price changes that face a household. And that's the reason that we are updating our database or updating our base year to 23-24, and which will be based on the household consumption expenditure survey. It will reflect the basket of items that the household currently uses. One of the things which has been mentioned repeatedly is the fact that food forms a smaller weight in the basket that people now use, and cereals have reduced. the consumption of eggs, dairy products, fruits, vegetables has increased. The weight of things like travel and conveyance has increased. So all these items will be much more reflective of the price rises that an individual household faces. And obviously the kind of data that we are collecting, and I've already spoken about what other sources that we are using so that, for example, online retail has the appropriate weight in this basket. Now, how the price index is used by various individuals, various organizations, is based on their. So the Reserve Bank of India definitely uses it for the monetary policy, but I'm sure they use other inputs also. But what our attempt is to ensure that whatever data that they use, which is from us, is robust and accurate.
So would it make for a compelling case for the RBI to maybe consider a rate cut? That's what we are hoping for.
That's not my domain. Sorry, I can't talk about that.
Okay, very quickly. So one last question in the fintech space. I believe that MoSPI will be collecting data from fintechs as well, or so we've heard. What kind of data would you be seeking from the fintech industry?
So it's not. We had an interaction with the fintech industry that was more in terms of since the fintech industry uses a lot of economic data for their various products, etc. It was more in the terms of making them aware of the data that's available in the public domain with the government, and that can be suitably leveraged by them for designing their products, improving their products, or in any other manner. Whatever data that we get is always in an anonymized format, and it is done whatever is legally permissible. So there's no such specific data that we are looking from the fintechs, but we would be very happy to collaborate with them to understand what kind of data they would be willing to share at an aggregate level. And we will have to look at that where we can utilize that data to produce some economic indicator which will be of use to them and the industry in general.
Any timelines that you're working with on this one?
No, it's an open-ended discussion. Whatever data we need for that, in any case, we work with different agencies. I mentioned about e-commerce firms and OTT platforms. So whatever data, specific data that we need, we work with the concerned agencies. Any other data is something that we would be willing to look at and discuss on how it can be mutually beneficial.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Garg, for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Dr. Garg. We wish you the very best in this overhauling of India's data journey. Like we said, data is the new gold, and you are in charge of it for India. Thank you so much, sir. We'll see you in Delhi. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Enjoy talking to you.